The U.S. isn't the only ones facing accusations of censorship. Britain is under fire after the country's media regulator revoked the license of Press TV, the Iranian English-language broadcaster. The watchdog says the channel is in breach of regulations because it doesn't control its content. Press TV says it's being silenced. For more on this, let's talk with Phil Rees, a UK-based media analyst and author. Thanks for your time. So Press TV has claimed for months that British authorities were planning to shut down the station. What do you make of their decision?
Well, obviously, Press TV failed to comply with one or two matters. I mean, they certainly didn't pay the fine, and they refused to accept that overall control should lie in London, whereas, in fact, it is an arm of obviously Iranian state TV. So there were issues there. Certainly on a technical level, you know, this process has been unfolding for a while. I mean, they've been at loggerheads for a while, of course, over so many things. So many of the programs have been sanctioned because they have a very different worldview to Ofcom. But I suppose at the end of the day, I think they were unwilling to oblige as to what Ofcom required them to do, which they felt would be maybe going on their knees. But as a result, this process means that they're off any British platform.
Do you think the violations cited by Britain's media watchdog are serious enough for it to be taken off the air?
Well, I think what happened to the Iranian journalist Maziar Bahari was wrong, and I think that this was in the midst of the turmoil after the Iranian presidential election in 2009. But my view is that if this had been separated from geopolitics, then no, this would not have happened, and some other kind of sanction would have been made, and a deal would have been struck. So I think that Press TV has been viewed through geopolitical terms, and that is the breakdown of relations between Britain and Iran.
The watchdog says it's apparent that editorial control of the channel actually rests in Tehran. How crucial do you think is that fact in the decision to take Press TV off the air in the UK?
Well, I don't think it's crucial. I think it's been used by Ofcom, and I think that the Iranian authorities have been unwilling to abide by what Ofcom asked them to do. That is the leaders of the people who run Press TV. So, you know, look, at the end of the day, I think that most of the criticisms of Press TV have been due to its coverage because, you know, it sees the Middle East very differently, for example, than the mainstream media in Britain. This repeatedly comes up. Pro-Israeli groups repeatedly complain about it. So there's been, you know, they've been at loggerheads for so long that I think that, and we know, by the way, from WikiLeaks, we know very well that the British government at the very highest level was discussing with its, the American ambassador here how to limit Press TV's output in Britain. So we certainly know that Press TV's journalism is not viewed purely in terms of its journalism, but it's viewed in terms of British-Iranian relations.
Now finally, given the current significant plunge in political ties between the UK and Iran, how significant do you think is the timing of this move? Well, one sincerely hopes that there isn't any link between the timing of this and any potential military action. I mean, certainly that would be my view. I also think it's very sad, though, because I think that if diplomatic relations break down, other avenues need to be in place for countries to discuss matters. So I think this is hugely counterproductive because, to some extent, Press TV was a window on an alternative view. It was a window on what the Iranian government felt, but also a legitimate view, a view, for example, of the Palestinians and the Israelis not as equals in the sense that the British media considers, you know, the occupied and the occupiers as equals and deserving of the same kind of press attention. Press TV took a very different view as to American policy in the Middle East. So now what we've got is we've got a real limiting of dialogue in the British media, and I think that's a tragedy, and certainly a tragedy at a time when British-Iranian relations are at their lowest ebb for a long period. All right, we have to leave it there. Phil Rees, UK-based media analyst and author. Thanks for your perspective.